Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and to this video in which I'm going to show how I do the connection of the electric motors. So first thing I've done, I've gone back to my old videos about the Mosquito and I've copied the diagram that I'd created to connect the motors. As a reminder, I'm using the P51, like the small model electronics. So I have the ESC, which is here. I have a small battery also that is connected. I think it's a 1-cell battery. If I put it here, this is the battery, and this indicates the battery. That's the ESC, and then there are two motors that are brushed. The two brushed motors, on the one hand, they do not have too much power, that's true, but it does allow me to have one single ESC controlling both motors. So that's why I'm using this, and hopefully it will have enough power to move the whole aircraft along. So with the diagram, what I have to do, I have to connect both motors in parallel, and for that I need some extension cables that I've taken out from an old printer that I found somewhere. I've gutted some old cables and I've tried to cut the cables somehow to an equivalent distance. So for the connection, I need first of all to connect the two motors, the red with the red, the blue with the blue, and then out of that connection, or out of that cable, or one of those connections, to connect it all into the ESC. So that is what I'm going to be doing now. It takes some soldering, which I'm still not good at, so it's going to be a bit messy, I think, but I'm going to try to do the setup and then try it out and see if it works. If it does work, all well and good, then I can probably start to gradually install the motors and continue with the construction. So there's a nice little challenge that I have now. Actually, for me it's quite a big challenge, but as I've done it already once before and it did work, so I'm more confident that it will work this time also. So after quite a long session of soldering, of connecting cables and putting them together, trying to keep them separate and following the plan, I'm going to try to connect the battery, and I hope everything turns in the right direction, and everything turns. So let's see how it goes. So the battery is connected, the ESC is lit. I'm going to turn on the transmitter. Okay, that means it's bound. I'm going to try the servos. You don't see them, but you can hear them. And now let's see if the engines will turn. Engines active. And they don't turn. So some connection has to be loose. Now all of a sudden it started to turn, so I'm afraid maybe some connection is loose somewhere, but good news is that they are turning and it is holding the power. So I'm going to have to check maybe those connections. I squeezed those in a little bit and maybe that's what made it turn. So anyhow, not bad. So I've redone the T connections that go to the ESC, as I think those are the ones that were giving problems. So let's try it again. Let's see where I put it down. So I'll connect the battery. Okay, so there we are, ESC connected, servos moving somehow, connecting the motors, and yes, they turn. Now swift connection, so that's good. So that's it for the setup. We'll still have to put it into the engine seals and things like that, and fixing the gearboxes. There's still something to do, but now before I do anything else on that front, I want to work on the servo for the ailerons, because I'm also worried about, I think I mentioned it before, that maybe the length of the cable might not be long enough. So depending on that, I'll have to place the ESC. So that's the next step. So here's the final update on the electronics installation. I've connected the battery in, and I've got already the aileron servo connected. I've glued it in there. I had to build a little bit of a jig inside, and let's see if you can see it. The ailerons move. If it's okay or not completely, we'll see. But as I have built in this little twist, this little bend in the control rod, I hope I can adjust it if needed. Here is that bend there, you can't see it too well. So that's the ailerons built in and the servo. I've also plugged the servo in. The ESC is underneath this lid. I haven't yet glued it in because I still want to see how I'm going to put in the push rods that will go then to the tail surfaces. So I'm going to leave that unglued, it's just there, and then to see at what height I want to put in the ESC to make sure that it doesn't crash into maybe the wing spars or something like that. Let's see. I'll do that then at a later point. Then I've also installed in the engines. As you can see, the engines are there and I've glued them in. I've put also the propellers just to make sure that there's enough clearance. Here you see there's a bit of clearance, and here also some clearance. Let's see if you can see it. Yes, so not very much clearance, just a couple of millimeters left. I've put on this one also the cowling just to see what it looks like. It's not completely perfect, and if you notice that this moves, it's because if you notice, I had this issue with another gearbox in the past. There's this bearing, a bushing I think it's called, that has come out of its seat. So I'm not going to put it back in. I'm going to put in a drop of glue, of super glue, and then push it back in, and then with that it should stay. It happened to both gearboxes, which I'm not completely happy about. It did happen on the Mosquito before, but I think it's something that is fixable, so not the end of the world by any means. So there it is. I'm not going to power up the engine because the propellers are on and I don't want to damage anything, but they do seem to turn in the right direction, which is good, and that's I think it for the electronics. So quite complicated, but the experience from the Mosquito has helped for sure, because I had already the chart, I had the picture, I had already the ways to go, and I think my electronics, my soldering skills are getting better and better. Of course, practice helps, and I leave it there for the electronics part. So thank you everybody for watching again, and I'll see you next time.